Hi, this is Mico, and today we're going to do a short video. It's going to be just a few short tips, 6 tips, most important things for when you shop for a pre-owned BMW, when you're shopping for a used car, specifically BMW, but other brands as well. And I brought a friend. I brought somebody that actually knows what he's talking about. Alex is a certified BMW technician with our dealership. Alex, you've been here for what?
11 years.
11 years, okay.
It's gonna be actually 11 this month.
All right. And you had how many BMWs in that time?
Since I started working here,
Yeah,
like 10.
10 cars, and you
All
own
different
10
ones.
cars, all different
Yeah.
cars, and all different models. I helped you with a couple of them,
Mhm.
and you probably went through what? I mean, it's got to be thousands of cars.
Uh, More than that probably.
All right. Okay, so we talked before that just to figure out what will be the most important points for somebody that's not a technician, doesn't know what they're doing, but they're trying to figure out how to find a good car and figure out if that's the good car. And here's what it came out with. So I'm gonna go point by point and help you just elaborate. So first thing, it sounded like you started before you even do inspection and look at different things, test drive. Is that right?
Well, you wanna pop the hood, look underneath the hood first before you start driving it.
Okay.
No.
So first thing will be to pop the hood, and you told me a couple of things. So you're gonna look for before you pop the hood, you're looking for seals.
Well, you wanna make sure the car is in okay condition.
Right.
Which means it's a car being taken care of. Like if it's been garaged,
Okay.
you can tell the seals. If the car is like, let's say, 10 years old, right?
Right.
So you're looking at like 2006, 2007. I mean, yeah, 2007 car, and 10 years old car is gonna show signs of sun exposure, for example. So if it's been sitting outside all this time, in San Francisco or anywhere in California, it's usually very sunny and hot outside. So car gets hot every day, and seals around the windshield or rear glass usually start getting cracked,
Okay.
and you can tell it's been sitting outside, which means that most likely a lot of plastics inside the car is going to get all shrunken and it's going to make a lot of creaking noises that it may not be important for some people,
Mm-hmm.
but for some people it's really irritating. We have a lot of customers coming with a creaking noise complaints, so it's that for a lot of people it's very important actually. And it's kind of it's car being garage, so it's usually a good sign that it's been taken care of a little bit better.
Okay. Better value and garage.
Better value, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you said you open the hood and you look. You said check the coolant. What are you looking for?
Yeah, well, basic check. Obviously, before you drive the car, make sure it has coolant in the coolant system so it's not overheated.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people don't even understand simple stuff like you have to put coolant in the coolant system once in a while.
Right.
Why? Because car goes through the heat cycles. When the coolant gets hot, it expands. When it expands to a certain level, it's gonna actually get released through the cap, which has a pressure relief in it. So
Okay.
it's gonna escape. The pressure is gonna escape with some vapor in
Mhm.
it. So it's gonna over time the coolant is actually gonna drop.
Okay.
So before you start driving it, it's just common sense, but yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are not aware of it. You want to make sure there's coolant in the system, and if there's a dipstick, just make sure there's oil in it. If a guy who's selling you, or lady, for this matter, person who's selling the car, he actually knows about the car, and you can tell that he's actually kind of giving you a story on the background. He probably did it himself, but just
Okay.
not everybody really car guys or girls.
Okay.
So yeah, and so you open the hood and just do just basic check. Just look at the coolant, make sure it's there. Yeah, make sure the engine is there.
Engine is there. And what about the engine? Like, what if it's like the engine is shiny and clean? What does it say?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you're selling the car and you have big leak in the car, coolant or oil leak, what do you want to do? You want to wash the engine, right? Make sure it's not there. So, yeah, if it's been recently cleaned and car doesn't look as been detailed overall, probably he tried to cover up something. So
Right.
you want to kind of ask about it.
So just a warning sign.
Just it's a warning. Yeah, it's a warning sign. So you wanna make sure you and ask about it at least.
All right.
So
Okay. So you looked at the car and then you would want to drive it.
yeah, you wanna. I prefer if I do the test drive myself. If I
Mhm.
buy a new used car, I wanna cold start it.
Yeah.
which means start it when it's cold, because a lot of problems in the engine especially, or transmission, doesn't matter, it's automatic transmission, they usually show up when it's cold. It's more likely to show up when it's cold than when it's warm, because you know, oil is not distributed, so can make some like a normal tapping noises or clicking noises, or the pulleys that the serpentine belt goes around, they make noise sometimes when it's cold and then goes away when it's warmed up. And it's just a good thing just to start the car cold, let it warm up,
Okay.
listen to it, make sure there's nothing, you know, going on there, you know, visually, or it doesn't sound bad. And
Okay.
when you drive car when it's cold, if there's a problem with transmission as well, it will be more prominent when it's
Right.
cold.
So
It's
you
gonna
gotta-
shift harsher.
Gotta test drive it cold,
Yeah.
and then.
Not cold, but you wanna start it up and let it at least warm up for like 30 seconds. Usually it's enough. For newer cars, it's more than enough. 30 seconds. It doesn't need to be, you know, idling for 5 minutes.
Right. And then you said it's really important to know what you're expecting out of the car when you test drive.
Well, I think this is what you do before you even start looking at it.
Right.
So if you're looking for any used cars, then it's just like you know, you need to understand that if you're looking at the BMWs, there's certain expectations
Yeah.
that count. Like you looking for probably more performance oriented car than, like, let's say, luxury car.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you compare BMW to Lexus, for example, of same pretty much era, the Lexus they used to be a little bit softer and quieter.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at like a 2005 Model 3 Series and the Lexus, whatever, is comparable vehicle. Lexus is probably going to be softer, easier to drive, you know, slow around town. It's, you know, quieter. So BMW is a little bit more performance oriented. This is going to be harsher. The steering is going to be heavier. So it handles better, but it's not very comfortable, especially for older people. They get a little disappointed how heavy steering is.
Yeah.
Newer models, actually, it's a different story. They actually made it a little bit more.
Right, but basically know what to expect.
Yeah, you need to understand what you're looking at.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. BMWs are not. They're a luxury brand, but they're not as luxury as some comparable cars in this price range.
Right. And then when you actually drive, you said just pay attention to brakes, suspension, steering.
Yeah, you want to make sure it stops when you press the brake. And BMW brakes are known to be really good brakes, so it has to be responsive.
Okay.
If you step on it and it feels soft and it doesn't stop well, probably there might be air in the system, or maybe the brakes are not original BMW brakes. Why is it important, especially when it comes to brakes? BMW uses different compound for their brake pads.
Yeah.
They're making a lot of dust. That's why BMW cars.
Black wheels.
Yeah, the black wheels all the time. But this compound actually ensures that you have consistent braking no matter cold or hot. So if you put aftermarket pads on it, you may not stop well when it's cold, and then kind of progressively gets better when it gets hotter.
Okay.
So BMW they use different compound. There is a drawback, a lot of dust,
Yeah.
but it has consistent performance. So when you start braking cold, it's always like what's expected. You know, car is gonna stop when you want to stop.
All right.
So it's supposed to be responsive, and when it comes to braking. So while driving, just listen, and you can feel it. There's a problem with suspension. Usually there's a knocking noise, or if you tap the brake and there's a lot of movement in the suspension,
Yeah.
there is something worn out. BMW uses thrust bushings on the front suspension that's supposed to fail over time when you hit the bumps or potholes.
Yeah.
They will break. It's almost like a maintenance thing, you know.
Right.
It's gonna wear out. They did it so to prevent the suspension damage when you hit the pothole. So instead of replacing the whole control arm, you just can replace the bushing instead. So it's cheaper and more, cheaper labor-wise and parts-wise. So it's this creates problem. It's not really a problem. It was built in that over time suspension is going to get worn out, the bushing specifically, and you kind of have to replace it. So it's very obvious. You drive even slow, you tap the brakes, and they feel this knock and movement in the front suspension. Most likely it needs thrust bushings. There might be other problems too, but it's like the first thing that usually comes up. It's the problem with the thrust bushings.
All right. So you looked at the car, you test drove it, and then when we were talking, you said inspection. you still, even though you drove it, if it's not under warranty, you
Yeah,
wouldn't
if
spend.
there's no obvious problems,
Yeah,
like the engine is there and it's nothing really raises red flags, and you drove it, it kind of feels okay, you like the car, definitely take it to dealership or other independent dealership. I mean, repair shop and
yeah,
get it inspected. Why? Because new cars, especially newer cars, they're so complicated. If you're not a if you're not in this field, you're not gonna know what to look for.
right,
So you need to let somebody who actually know cars look at it, because it might be a very expensive issue that you'll have to address eventually that you don't want to deal with.
yeah,
So you need to understand that if you buy a used car, and even if a lot of stuff was done on it, most likely you'll have to repair something else. It's almost unavoidable.
right,
And highly recommend take it to dealership, especially if it's a BMW dealership. Why? Because they know these cars.
yeah,
They know what to look for, and if you don't want to buy service there, I mean, don't want to fix it there, understandable. You can just do inspection. They're gonna inspect it for you, give you full report. You just pay whatever they charge you, and at least you're confident that they're the most. I know I work with BMW, so it sounds a little biased,
no, no, it's okay,
but it's just coming from somebody who had to deal with this before I used to be BMW tech.
right,
And so we had cars coming in, and you don't really know all cars. So if you work on all brands and all models, you might know some things. You don't really know other stuff, so you're not as competent as
yeah.
BMW techs. If it comes to BMWs.
What will be a reasonable cost of an inspection like that?
Normally they charge about an hour, so it depends on the dealerships.
Yeah.
BMW of San Francisco, it's on the pricier side, but it's more conveniently located. So if you live in the city, it might be actually cheaper for you to take it here and pay
Yeah.
extra, whatever they charge you $50 extra, than take it somewhere else and spend
Okay, so
time
w-
traveling.
But when you say an hour, that's an hour labor, so how much is it actually retail?
It's yeah, they charge an hour. So an hour at BMW San Francisco, if I'm not wrong, is like $250.
So, okay, so
So,
$250 for a
Yeah,
full inspection.
yeah, but you get the inspection. They're gonna check the faults in the car.
Mhm.
Even check engine light is not on. Check engine light is not on. Doesn't mean that there's no faults.
Right.
They can still be fault stored,
Okay,
and they can point to certain specific areas that may fail soon. Especially if you talk about again talking about E90s, which is like 2006 to F cars
to 2013, yeah.
13, yeah.
No,
So
well, yeah,
yeah, so this is when they start using electric coolant pump.
Mm-hmm,
So if it fails, the car is gonna get overheated.
right,
But sometimes it start having problems before it says to check engine light on. So you may have problem with the coolant pump without having check engine light on,
right,
and it's kind of pricey to do, and it's dangerous. You can't really take it to LA from here, for example, because if it's gonna overheat on overpass, you get
Very
stuck.
bad, yeah, okay,
So something kind of can prevent happening if you just check the fault memory and see the fault story.
okay. All right, so you inspected the car, then something you were saying that you could tell more or less about the car or how it's been driven by just looking at tires and the wheels.
Yeah, if tires are mismatched,
Okay,
the wheels are all like heavily, damaged, car garage and stuff like this. Again, it doesn't apply to everybody, but you kind of can tell the car wasn't really taken care of well, like if tires are not original mismatched, most likely he was trying to save money
mm-hmm,
on tires. That means that probably he tried to save money on repairs as well. So it's one extra thing, just- you kind of have to be aware of this,
right,
that-
okay. All right, so you looked at the car, tires, this and that, you test drove it, feels okay, inspection. So now we were talking about the warranty. So
Mhm.
in this case, we're talking about not a car that's still under warranty,
Mhm.
not a certified
Mhm.
pre-owned, maybe a car that somebody's trying to just on the budget looking for a car,
Mhm.
the used car lot or private. And what about the warranty?
Well, first of all, if you talk about, we're talking about 3 Series, right, specifically?
For example, most
Yeah,
common
okay.
car.
It's most common car,
Yeah.
People buy used. There's so many more of them than 5 or 7 Series.
Right.
And 3 Series, when it comes to 3 Series, if you're talking about D90s, there are 328s and 335 models, right? So 328s, a lot of them are actually SULIF. which is super low emission vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And SULIFs are covered by emission warranty to 150,000 miles or 10 years,
Okay.
whichever comes first. Some of the components actually covered even beyond that, but it's like basic general coverage. Okay, if you buy an 2006 model and it's 2017, it's probably past the 10 years
Right.
warranty anyway. But if you have a SULIF car that is actually still in this range, you can get repairs done under emissions warranty, which you don't pay anything out of pocket, it's covered.
Right, so there's a benefit if it's.
Yes, benefit, yeah, but depending on the model and
Mhm.
what year the model is. So,
Okay.
yeah, but a lot of used cars actually still have warranty.
Right.
And even E46, which is 3 Series before E90, which
Mhm.
is like a model from 99 to what, 2006,
Yeah.
even they still have some emission coverage. So you never know. So
Okay.
it's better
So check.
you can just call dealership and say, and I took it to independent. They told me I need, for example, fuel pump,
Yeah.
which is in a tank which is sealed, so I have to replace the fuel tank, which is very expensive. And if I'm not wrong, those are still covered.
Okay.
So some stuff are still, yeah. So it's always good to call and just ask.
But let's say like car that's, there's no warranty or you're just worried, like the extended service contract,
Mhm.
like what's your opinion?
If you buy a CPO, which is certified pre-owned BMW
Not
car,
a CPO.
yeah,
Oh, it's not a CPO.
it's a little iffy because I've dealt with different aftermarket warranty companies, and some of them they're pretty good about coverage.
Yeah.
So you just pay whatever deductible, and they cover repairs. Other companies they don't want to deal with us because we're too expensive labor, and they want to use aftermarket parts, which we don't do. If you want to put aftermarket part in the car, we're not going to do it for you
Yeah.
because we warranty labor and parts for 2 years.
Mhm.
So unlimited miles 2 years. So we cannot do this officially. So it really depends. Depends if you buy aftermarket warranty, really get the full disclosure. Make sure you know what you're buying, what they cover, what they don't cover.
Small print.
Yeah, exactly. Small print, exactly. Because they may charge you $2,000 and you can never use it because they don't really cover anything. They cover block for cracks.
Yeah.
And it's not something it's very common, so.
Okay. All right, and then last thing we were talking about,
Mhm.
because I see it a lot, people that are in the budget,
Mhm.
young kids, but they still want a nice BMW, and they start looking for, those steals, those deals.
Mhm.
There's like, $500 car, $1,000,
Too good to be true cars.
series, yeah, cars like that. So let's say, I found a, 15 or 20-year-old BMW that's $500, $1,000,
Mhm.
and it kind of checks out. Is that a good deal? What should I be expecting? What should I be ready for?
Mhm. So basically, when you buy an old car, you either buy a car that been maintained properly and fixed,
Yeah.
right? So they usually ask more money for it, or you buy a car that somebody want to get rid of because it's too expensive to fix. They don't
Mhm.
want to do it, so they just sell it. So you need to understand that any used car you buy, you're most likely going to have to do something. But if car is really cheap, probably there's a lot of problems.
Okay.
Most likely, unless there's some situations where person just have to sell it faster. But usually it's not happening. It's, as you said, too good to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would prefer to buy a car that needs a lot of work and do it myself, if I had to even pay for it,
Yeah.
because you know what he did. And if you take it to dealership and you can actually afford the labor and repair dealership, you get 2 years warranty on parts and
Mhm.
labor, which is a lot. Actually, 2 years. I've seen quite a few cars actually taking advantage of this 2 years warranty. When it comes to some oil leaks, actually it may happen before 2 years expires.
Right.
So it's good peace of mind, or just part fail. Like for example, you buy alternator and fails, right? It's a very expensive part, and it's quite expensive to fix.
Yeah.
And may fail in 2 years, so you may actually take advantage of this too. And you know exactly what you repaired, what you fixed, and you kind of. It's kind of, if you want to keep the car, of course.
Right.
Yeah, it's the route I would take. On the other hand, if you buy a car that been properly maintained and everything was repaired at the certified whatever service centers or dealership, and he has all the receipts, he or she again, the person who sells you car, and you see that everything was done and car looks good, and you took to dealership or other place and they did inspection, nothing is obviously wrong with the car, then and the price is right, obviously it's a good car. Again, it's all depending on the car. When it comes to used cars, there is no really formula that you can follow to find perfect car. It really depends on condition, on mileage. Like I myself buy used cars for myself. I don't buy new ones, and I always look at the condition. Like my last car I bought has 150,000 miles, and it's a twin turbocharged 335 car, which is not supposed to be reliable,
Right.
but it runs like a Swiss watch. It's perfect. Great condition. I look at the car. I really like, it was taken care of. Interior is nice and leather is pliable, so it was garaged. You can tell it wasn't sitting outside. And guy was driving it very, like he was taking care of it. Yeah. And it's a great car. So used car doesn't always need to be bad car, or it's all about condition. Yeah.
Okay. But like, we were talking, again, going back to, like, I'm not so sure if maybe the car's not so great. It's 15 years old, so it looks beat up. So what's like this buffer I should have, for worst case scenario, how much will it cost me to make this car right?
Depends what we were talking about.
Let's say 3 Series.
3 Series. You're talking E46, the older one, or the newer?
15-year-old, so it'll be, E46.
Yeah, E46. You should, if there's no like receipts and there's like you don't know what was done or not. Yeah, and there's a problem, that oil leak here, coolant leak there. You're probably looking at like $3,000-$5,000 in repairs right away.
Okay.
If you want to do it right.
Right.
So you probably have to reseal the engine, which means valve cover gasket, oil filter housing gasket, most likely coolant work. And coolant work, usually if it's an older car, it pretty much includes everything. It's going to be expansion tank, it's going to be hoses, probably radiator, so maybe even the water pump if it's E46. So you're looking probably a good $5,000 if you're going to do it at the dealership.
Okay.
So it's something that you can't really get away from. If you're buying a used car, it's usually there's some extra money that you have to shell
just
out.
have something on the side, be ready to spend. Okay, that's I agree. And
There are some perfect used cars. I'm
Right.
sure there are.
Yeah.
Usually, if they're perfect, guys who drive them, girls, people, they usually don't sell it. That's why they're perfect. They
Right.
keep it for themselves. I've seen quite a few perfect 5 Series C39
But
from
not
like
for sale.
2002. They're not gonna sell it. They're in great shape. Customer was doing all the repairs. Here we see all the history and the service history, but he doesn't want to sell it. Like, he loves the car. He wants to keep it. So if you come across one of those cars, it's a great car to buy. You're probably not gonna spend much to repair it either.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got, again, I'm just trying to build like a process, right,
Yes.
from what we talked about. You're looking at the car, first you gotta just look at it, look around, look for a seal, see if the car's been garaged, preferably it has been. Check the coolant, see if there's any work been done on the coolant. Oil leaks, if the engine is clean, that's kind of like a warning sign.
It's not necessarily indicating there is something shady is going on. It just, you would at least ask why the engine was washed. Like, why did you wash the engine? Usually it doesn't need to be washed unless there was something going on.
Okay, we looked at tires. Then I didn't ask now because we discussed accidents. There's obviously you can pull Carfax report, auto history,
Yes.
whatnot, but
A lot of times it's not going to be Carfax either. If it's not a big repair,
yeah,
a lot of people just do it.
it's not even gonna
cash.
show up.
Yeah.
But there's no way of telling. The bottom line is that without full inspection,
If you're not professional,
Yeah.
if it's not very obvious, there is no way to tell.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I cannot tell if the car was in body shop or not, just by the way it looks. Especially if it's not metallic paint, they usually blend it well.
right?
They buff it, so it's new panels, or they bond it well. So it's almost impossible sometimes to tell.
Right. So without an inspection, you just don't know.
Yeah, usually. If it wasn't a bad accident and it's not in Carfax, it's kind of you can tell by the looking at the frame and suspension. You can see signs of.
Use a mechanic.
Yeah.
But there's not you could not tell me, okay, look at this thing.
No, it has to be inspected. That's why I'm saying if you like the car,
Yeah.
if something you're actually interested in, and it doesn't look like it's if it's like about right price range for you, and you can just take it to dealership, well, not dealership necessarily, but to
Okay.
professionals and just let them look at it and
All right.
yeah, always good thing to have second opinion as well.
Right.
Like if you don't want to repair it BMW, I mean the BMW dealership, but you want to inspect it here, it's great because you can do inspection here. I know it's $250 or whatever they charge, but you get the report and you take it to other place you want to fix it at and get their report and compare, see if they try to sell you something you don't need.
Right.
Because if they found something that dealership didn't find, I don't know if it's really gonna need it. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. Okay.
So
So just be careful. You always have to think and understand that dealership or not, but they want to maximize it. They want to upsell it. They will
we're in
try.
business of
They're-
selling labor and
Yeah,
parts.
yeah.
That's what we do. Of course we want to sell it.
Mhm.
Some places don't do it, honestly, not very honestly. It's all, there's so many tools now to find a good place. You just go online and you search, read people's reviews and stuff. So it got a little bit easier these days
Right.
to find a good place. So yeah, I would just suggest, go and find good place you can trust, and take it there. That would be probably ideal.
All right. Okay, so you inspected, you test drove, knowing what to expect before you go there, understanding that if it's a performance car, it's going to
Mhm.
behave certain
Yeah,
way.
you need to have certain understanding about the car you buy.
The model, yeah. Okay, you try to drive it cold because it'll show more. Most problems will be more obvious when it's cold.
It's easier to spot the problem, especially with the engine transmission when
Yeah.
it's cold. It's more obvious. Yeah, especially like some models like turbocharged engines.
Yeah.
They usually, if there's a problem, it's gonna show up when it's cold more likely than when it's hot. So yeah, it's kind of more likely to happen when it's cold.
All right. We talked about the warranty. That obviously you want to have it certified pre-owned if possible.
If you buy a certified pre-owned, there is no discussion about this.
Either one.
Yeah, you don't need it because it's been inspected, it's been repaired. There's a very high standard that's they have in order to certify cars CPO. So if you buy a CPO, it's been inspected, it's safe, there's no problems,
Yeah.
everything's been addressed, and you have warranty too. So
Okay.
it's almost like you're buying used new car.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a completely different conversation, of course.
Okay. But from what you're telling me, like if you're talking about a really old car, then just having money aside, that's your warranty.
You need to understand you'll have to spend money on the car.
Right.
Yeah. So there's some rare gems out there that in great condition that's been repaired and the seller doesn't want a lot of money for. But if you're lucky enough to buy one of those cars, then okay. But most likely you'll have to spend some money when you
Awesome.
buy a used car,
All right.
especially if it's BMW. Yeah. Good. More expensive. They just
We know.
yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No, it just overall, it's a great car. I mean, great BMW, great cars. If it's model specific, of course, some are better than others. But I don't know what else. It's always a challenge to buy a good used car.
Yeah.
But they're out there. Yeah, you can find one.
And convince somebody to sell it, right?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thanks a lot.
Hey, no problem. Anytime.
Thank you.